and like, okay, like move on, we get it, you guys are fun and quirky and you get along with each other and your sense of humor is the same, haha. It's just so uninspired. I fucking knew it. So good. Hi, how are you? How are you doing? What's up? Today is Sunday, November 7th, and I thought it would be fun to do a little reading vlog for the next couple of days. I love watching these types of videos, but I don't know how good I'll be at doing them or it, so we'll see how it goes. This next week won't be too busy for me in terms of work and life, so I thought I would throw together a super loose reading plan, reading suggestion. It's not really a plan, it's really more of a suggestion, and kind of go over that with you guys and see what I actually read, and yeah, it should be fun. So plan-wise, and it's like a super loose plan, I am thinking right now that I will do something for the Bloomin' Readathon hosted by Ali V and Kirsty on YouTube and Instagram. I don't really do readathons because, again, I don't like feeling forced to read a certain book or specific book. But I thought this week I would try the Bloomin' Readathon just because their prompts are very loose, or not loose, open-ended. But I thought this week I would at least tackle the first square, which is B. I don't know if you can see that. I'll just read it out to you. It's called B, and it's read a book on your shelf that has a lot of buzz. That's really easy for me because I was going to pick up right before I started filming this, I decided I was going to start reading Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. I talked about this in my library haul that I filmed a couple days ago, and yeah, I really just, it called to me. Mostly the cover called to me, and I am gonna start reading it today, and hopefully I like it and I'll continue on with it in the next couple of days. And this book has been getting a lot of attention and buzz from the awards that have been going on. I think this was long listed for a couple of things. I can't remember what it was listed for anymore. But yeah, I think that counts in the first square for the readathon. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, and audiobook wise, I was thinking of reading, oh, sorry, I just got a notification that the Love Hypothesis, can you see that? The Love Hypothesis is available for me to borrow, and I've been waiting for that. I'm not really in the mood right now to read anything super literary and dense, which maybe this wouldn't be the best pick for that. But since the Love Hypothesis is in as an audiobook for me, maybe that'll be the audiobook I listen to the next couple of days. The Love Hypothesis has also been making its rounds on the internet, so it also fit into that first square of the readathon because it's popular. Okay, and just in case I need another option in addition to the audiobook and the physical book, I've picked an ebook here, and it's Silver in the Wood by Emily Tesh. And this is a fantasy novella, and I did mention it in my library haul because I literally borrowed it this morning. Not like I need any more books on loan, but it is what it is. I have it, and it's a novella, so it'll be a super fast, quick read. I'll read you the synopsis real quick, okay? There's a wild man who lives in the deep quiet of Green Hollow, and he listens to the wood. Tobias, tethered to the forest, doesn't dwell on his past life, but he lives a perfectly unremarkable existence with his cottage, his cat, and his dryads. When Green Hollow Hall acquires a handsome, intensely curious new owner in Henry Silver, everything changes. Old secrets better left buried are dug up, and Tobias is forced to reckon with his troubled past, both the green magic of the woods and the dark things that rest in its heart. And just for fun, this was a 2020 World Fantasy Award finalist, and the Astounding Award and Crawford Award finalist. So if you're an awards person like me, I hope that piques your interest. Anyways, those are my 3 options for this week. I might very well not read any of them and pick up something totally different. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah. Getting back from walking the dogs, and I was going to listen to an audiobook, but I ended up just listening to Lehigh. Is that how you say her name? I wonder. I should look that up later, but Lehigh. Here, let me show you her Spotify page. I mean, I feel like you already know who this is, don't you? Come on, look at her. She's beautiful. I'm so late to the Lehigh fandom train, but like I found her 3 or 4 days ago. Oh my god. I'm so obsessed with her. I'm so obsessed with her. Her songs are such bops. And I'm like a ballad lover. I love ballads. I love me my sad, slow songs. And she has some of those. But she also has this amazing like energy and dancey songs. And ugh, so good. I was just listening to her the whole time. The only other K-pop group that I really, I guess you could say stan, but that I really like and enjoy their music and enjoy watching is Mamamoo. So yeah, love my powerful female vocalists in K-pop. That's my update. I think I'm going to change out of my outside clothes and then start reading a little bit. About 45 pages into this book, and I don't know why I thought one of the characters, what's her name? Hadley Baxter. I don't know why I thought Hadley was a journalist. She's actually an actress. I think I said when I was talking about this book in my library haul that she was a journalist. She's totally not. I don't know where I got that from. Really quickly, if you don't know what this book is about, this book follows 2 timelines. The first timeline being Marion, and she's a pilot. But her whole life story takes place in the early 1900s. I want to say like the 1920s-ish. And the second timeline follows this actress who is playing Marion in a movie. So those are our 2 timelines. Marion was a relatively famous pilot who I guess just disappeared one day as she was trying to fly around the globe or complete a journey around the globe. Something like that. It's very Amelia Earhart-esque. But so far I'm liking it. I mean, granted I'm not even 50 pages into the book, but so far I think it's pretty good. I really like the difference in writing style between Hadley's perspective and Marion / we're starting off Marion's storyline. Hadley's perspective, so far at least, there's only been a small chunk of her perspective, but so far her section is written in a very like direct, straightforward way. And Marion's timeline is written in a much more descriptive, flowy, a more immersive almost way. So it's actually really easy to tell the 2 timelines apart. Let's see if that's the case continuing on. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I feel like the difference is too drastic for it not to be intentional, but we'll see. Okay, I'm gonna go to bed, and yeah. Update on 2 books. What should I talk about first? Let's start with The Love Hypothesis. Okay, I'm an hour and 30 minutes into this, and I watched Carly's video today about this book. Actually, she did a reading vlog for The Love Hypothesis, and I watched it, and she mentioned that it was Star Wars fanfiction. And listen, I have nothing against fanfiction. I've read hundreds of hours of fanfiction, if not thousands, okay? I've done my time, not on Wattpad, but on fanfiction.net. Okay, I understand fanfiction. I read some really well-written ones. I read some pretty shitty ones. I can see how this book would work as a fanfiction. You get right into it, you know, the moment you start, oh my gosh, our two characters are kissing. Why? Because, oh, she insert some silly reason here, like classic way to start a fanfiction. Okay, it works in that format. But in a novel, it just feels weird. And some of the dialogue is it's too back and forth. I don't know if that makes sense to any of you guys, but it's like, it's too the banter's too thin, or the banter is too choppy, I guess. You know how with like rom-com banter, there's only so much back and forth you can do before it really starts to feel cringy and like, okay, like move on, we get it, you guys are fun and quirky and you get along with each other and your sense of humor is the same, haha. But it like borderline, it toes that line between like too much and like enough to get away with it. That's how I feel about this so far. And oh my god, when I realized her name, our main female lead's name is Olive Smith, I was like, out of all the names you could have picked, you picked Olive Smith. It's just so uninspired. Nothing against Smiths out there, okay? If your last name is Smith, like, I have nothing against you, but like, I don't know. When I heard that her name was Olive Smith, I just paused and I was like, her name is Olive Smith. Okay, also, first chapter of the book, she's like washing her eyes or something in the bathroom because her contacts are expired, so she's like, everything's blurry, she can't see anything, okay? And then this guy comes in, and of course it's our male lead. His name is Adam. He's a professor, okay? He's like tall, dark, handsome, super broody, like that kind of guy, that kind of love interest. And she introduces herself as Olive. She says like, hi, I'm Olive, like the tree. And I was like, oh, who does that? If your name is Olive, do you ever go around introducing yourself, being like, hi, my name is Olive, like the tree? Like, my name is Erin. It means, I think literally it means Ireland. I don't go around saying, hi, I'm Erin, like Ireland. Like, I don't know, that part caught me off guard and it just really rubbed me the wrong way. But you know what? At the end of the day, this is a romance. I'm not gonna take it too seriously. It doesn't bother me that much. And I'm waiting for the cute stuff. You know, if I can feel like these two people together are cute, like, I'm sold. There can be cons, drawbacks to the book, but if they can make me feel like, oh, that's cute, like, okay, fine, all is forgiven. I also read 50 more pages in Great Circle and I'm liking it a lot so far. I'm definitely making my way through this a lot slower than I normally would, especially if it was an ebook. But I'm really liking the different timelines a lot. I really like the two different timelines. I freaking love Marianne as a character. Right now she's still a child. I think she's like 13, 14, something like that. But you kind of see how her enthusiasm for planes and for flying was started. And I think Marianne's backstory when it comes to why she's so obsessed with planes and flying, I think it's pretty believable. It's not trying too hard or like reaching too far. So I really like that. And Hadley, the actress who ends up playing Marianne in a movie later on, I freaking love her perspective so much. I'm such a fan of like broody, slightly bitchy, like pessimistic female characters. Think like Evelyn Hugo from Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Especially in like the Hollywood movie scene, you know, I just feel like that works so well, that type of personality. So Hadley is not exactly, well, pretty much that kind of character. She just got into a huge scandal because she was caught by paparazzi cheating on her very famous boyfriend, who also has been cheating but more discreetly, so yeah, she's getting a lot of heat for it. And for her, it's a chance to recreate, to redefine herself in her acting career. It's her chance to pivot in her career, you know? So yeah, I'm really liking it. I'm really just enjoying and thoroughly trying to take in all the descriptive writing. Since I also recently finished Hamnet, okay, so we can compare the descriptive writing across the two books. Hamnet, the descriptions they felt much more gratuitous, like being flowy and verbose for the sake of it. A little bit, not too much, a little bit. Whereas so far in Great Circle, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like the descriptions are there to really ground you in the atmosphere, in the character's mind, in the scene, versus like being flowy for the sake of being flowy. That was actually the big problem I had with The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I did listen to that, or I tried to listen to that as an audiobook, and it was too much. The descriptions were too much. Everything was a metaphor, everything was a simile. I couldn't handle it. But Great Circle, I like it a lot. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna keep listening to The Love Hypothesis. It's about 9, my voice just did a weird cracking. It's 9:21 p.m. So I'll listen for probably another 20 minutes and then go to bed. Gotta get up early tomorrow to go to work. Today's only Monday, so we had the daylight savings time change yesterday on Sunday, so I'm still not used to the time. So it's 9:20 right now, but technically it's 10:20, so I'm like insanely tired. I'm just trying to push off sleep a little bit later so that I can get some semblance of a normal routine back. Because yeah, right now I'm waking up at 6:30 in the morning, and part of me likes that and maybe I should just continue doing that, but like another part of me is like, why? Why would you do that willingly? So yeah. Alright, that's all I got for now. See you tomorrow. My socks are on the bed. Wonderful. Sorry you had to see that. Okay, they're guessing colors. Here, let me play this out loud. So Olive and Adam are in line together to get coffee, and Olive is like, hey, what's your favorite color? And then I said out loud, I didn't catch it on camera, but I said out loud, I bet his favorite color is black. And it was. Okay, and now they're gonna order coffee, and I'm gonna guess again. He's gonna order a black coffee. All right, let's find out together.
Morning. The barista smiled at them cheerfully. What will you have today? Olive smiled back, gesturing at Adam to order first. Coffee. He darted a glance at her before adding, sheepishly, black.
I fucking knew it. Oh my god, I'm a genius. I'm a goddamn genius.
She had to duck her head to hide her smile, but when she glanced at him again, the corner of his mouth was curved upward, which, she reluctantly admitted to herself, was not a bad look for him. She ignored it and ordered the most fatty, sugary thing on the drink menu.
I fucking knew that too. Like the direct, exact opposite of a black coffee, okay? Okay, I'm gonna keep listening to this. I'm having a blast right now though. I gotta say, I gotta say I'm having a blast because I'm right. Which clearly it shows that this book is predictable, or maybe a lot of romance novels have very similar details. That's what it is. But either way, I'm having a grand old time. I'm happy. I'm happy. Hey guys, let's talk about the love hypothesis, okay? I finished it in such a blur last night. I did not end up sleeping at 9:30 p.m. I ended up sleeping at 2:30 a.m. because I was blasting through this audiobook. I don't even know what to tell you. Okay, any semblance of self-control I have just went out the window last night. So let me do my best to summarize it for you. Okay, we have Adam, who's a professor at Stanford University. His research focuses on computational modeling, I'm pretty sure. And then we have Olive. She's a PhD student studying pancreatic cancer blood biomarkers. I think that's what it was. It all happened in a blur last night, so I apologize if some of these details are incorrect. Anyways, one day, it's midnight. Olive's in her lab, and Adam is in also the lab. They're not in the same lab, they're not in the same project, it's just, you know, lab spaces are shared between different projects and different groups of people. So they're both in the lab, it's midnight, Olive sees her best friend walking by and she's like, I need to show my best friend that I'm over this guy. Okay, this guy's name is Jeremy, third person. She's like, I need to show my friend that I'm over Jeremy. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna grab the first male I see at midnight in this lab and kiss him so that my best friend knows I'm over Jeremy. Why? Because Olive's best friend, her name is On. I should just say her name is On. On is into Jeremy and On doesn't want to date Jeremy because On feels bad. And to show On that it's okay, she's moved on from Jeremy, Olive is like, let me make out with some random dude. And the dude, of course, happens to be Adam, our stoic professor. And then to really drive the point home that Olive is not into Jeremy, Olive is like, hey Adam, or Professor, what's his name, Carlton? I forget his last name. But she's like, hey Professor, you know what we should do is we should fake date so that my friend here feels okay dating my ex who wasn't really her ex because they weren't that serious anyways. And then the professor, Adam, is like, all right, let's do it because you know what, Stanford's also withholding some of my research grant funds. So they're like, hey, you know, mutual benefit, let's fake date. And that's the story. That's all you need to know. So I talked about some of my thoughts on the beginning of the book yesterday. And I'm looking here because I took some notes on Goodreads just so I can center myself so I'm not all over the place when I talk about this book. So the beginning of this book, really rocky. Really weak start in my opinion. And the beginning really did feel like a fan fiction. There's not that much setup, initial setup of the characters involved because, you know, with fan fiction we already know like a general personality and kind of a sketch of a background. We don't really need to know that much in terms of character backgrounds. So the beginning of this book really did feel like that. Like we just are thrown into it. We're expected to kind of already have a sense of what kind of person Olive is and what kind of person Adam is. Like I just felt like it was a little, the beginning was a little too abrupt. And obviously for novels, at the very beginning of novels, you don't have any sort of emotional connection to the characters yet. So when Olive, you know, grabbed Adam and like started kissed him, I was like, why? That doesn't make any sense. And I know romance novels don't typically have the most realistic or reasonable setup to begin with, but in this case it felt too forced, you know? I just think the beginning was really weak. And the dialogue and the banter and the interactions between the two characters is super predictable. Once you get past that initial generic sort of super sudden intro into the book and the characters, it gets a lot better. It gets a lot cuter. I love the Grumpy and Sunshine pairing, and in most cases the grumpy person is the guy, and that's the case here. Our professor, Adam, is very stoic, you know, very quiet. To other people, he comes off as very gruff and standoffish. And then we have our bubbly female character who's like super happy-go-lucky. She's really nice. She kind of is a pushover. Everyone kind of walks all over her. It doesn't get more stereotypical than that, right? I just love that pairing so much, and that's definitely the case here with this book as well. Things I liked about this book. Okay, let's go through it. So starting with the characters, I really loved Adam as a character in this book. I love it when fictional men set the bar so unbelievably high in terms of romantic expectations in romance novels, and that's definitely the case here. Olive, I was a little less appreciative of. There are some things that she says and does, like the first thing she does in this book, which are questionable to me and sometimes borderline cringy. But for the most part, she was okay. I also really like the setting of this book. So this book is set mostly on the Stanford campus in a school setting. And it just really took me back to my undergrad days, specifically first and second year of undergrad, where I worked in the lab. So all those times when they're in the lab where they talk about doing research and going to the lab on weekends, or like being in the lab really late, I had like war flashbacks to when I did that in my first and second year of college. Reading about those scenes brought back some very nostalgic memories for me. I read the author's note really briefly, and I'm pretty sure that the author, Hazelwood, also worked in STEM research. So that's why to me, all of the research and STEM related discussions felt really realistic. I did a STEM program in college, and a lot of my friends would talk about their research all the time and live in labs pretty much. And I was friends also with a couple of PhD students. So all of their general misery and complaints about academia, it felt very familiar to me. The romance is super cute. I think I already kind of touched on that, but this whole book is definitely a slow burn. It's definitely a pining sort of situation. You get, small little snippets of like forced interactions. A lot of the times their romantic interactions in the beginning are brought on by external circumstances, but later on I think that buildup was really, really good, and I really enjoyed that whole process. Okay, so what I didn't like about this book. I already talked about the beginning and my issues with that, but other things I didn't like. One, there was some super meta commentary about fake dating tropes sprinkled throughout the novel, and I didn't really like that. It was too on the nose for me. So for example, Olive, when she and Adam had to stay in a hotel room one night, she's like, oh, well, there must be only one bed. And then Adam was like, no, there's two beds, it's a double. She's like, no, you don't understand. Like, there's always only one bed. And she's referring to like romantic rom-com movies where there's always only one bed. Oh no, the two characters have to share a bed. So a lot of stuff like that, it was too on the nose for me. And I think one call out was like talking about how, oh, there's no way a fake dating romance novel could like sell super well. There was something about that, and I was like, I don't like that. That feels really weird to me. Okay, and then one last thing I want to touch on. It's super minor, but it's Adam and Olive's favorite words when they talk to each other. Every time they have a conversation, they use the word right and good. I get that in the beginning, there's a little bit of awkwardness between the two of them, so every time they ask each other like, how are you? The other person would say good. It's almost a reflex. It is a reflex for a lot of us, right? When someone asks you, how are you? You just say good without even thinking about it. So I understand why it's used in the beginning, but towards the end, when they're better friends or they know each other a little bit better and they still ask each other, how are you? And then they say good. Like that's definitely what people do, but it just feels weird to read about it consistently. They're not adding anything to the conversation by asking each other, how are you? I just feel like it was, towards the end especially of the book, it was just a waste of space. So why would you include that? And they always say right. Either Adam will say it, Olive would say it, or Olive would think it. And if it's not right, then it's yup. And that just kept happening to the point where I started to notice it, and then it started to kind of bother me a little bit. But I didn't read this book for the flawless, amazing dialogue and writing. I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. So despite all the little things that kind of annoyed me about this book, I still gave it a 4.5 out of 5 just because I'm so into Adam and Olive's relationship. I thought they're really cute. I would totally reread this book if I'm ever in a bad mood or feeling sad. I feel like this would be a great picker-upper. So yeah, I can totally see why everyone is raving about it. So that's The Love Hypothesis. Other reading updates, I started another audiobook called Ghost Forest by the author Pik-Shuen Fung, and I'm about 20% through it. It's a really short audiobook. It's only 4 hours long. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. It's a very lyrical and melancholic novel. It's about a Chinese-Canadian astronaut family, and the astronaut family part means that the protagonist's father works in Hong Kong, so he flies back and forth between Canada and Hong Kong throughout the year. The protagonist starts the book by saying that her father has passed away, and then we dive into 2 different points in time from different perspectives, from the protagonist's mother's perspective, her grandmother's perspective, just different memories, different scenes. I'm really liking it so far. I am expecting to finish this today, so once I do that, I'll check back in about my thoughts about this book. And I'm still slowly working my way through Great Circle. It's a bigger book, it's a slower book, so I'm taking my time with it. And that's the end of my lunch break, so I will see you later.
Lunar New Year. Every year, when my dad came to Vancouver for Lunar New Year, our house had to be clean and quiet. For 2 weeks, everyone tiptoed up and down the stairs and watched television with the volume on low. Before every meal, my sister and I had to address each adult at the table, starting with our dad. We couldn't watch Cantonese detective dramas or talk with food in our mouths, so we ate in silence, only the clink-clink of the chopsticks against our porcelain bowls. Why, my mom would say, be quiet for these 2 weeks. Your dad worked so hard for you in Hong Kong. But the real reason we were quiet was because my dad was jet-lagged, and whenever he couldn't sleep, he got angry, his eyes reddening behind his wire-rimmed glasses. He never raised his voice, though. His anger was the cold, clenched kind that left the room in silence. My mom says that for a few years after we immigrated to Canada, every time my dad left for the airport, I cried. But I don't remember that. When I think of Lunar New Year growing up, I think of the black lacquer box my mom filled with salty watermelon seeds, candied lotus root, and milky white rabbit candies. I think of sitting cross-legged on the carpet with my sister and laying out our red pocket money. And I think of counting down the days until our house could be itself again. Summers.
Hey, it's Saturday night at 11:41 p.m. So I mean, it's almost Sunday. And it's been a couple days since I've checked in, so I thought I would really quickly give you guys an update on what I've been reading. And yeah, I have been listening to audiobooks, and I think I also filmed myself starting a new jigsaw puzzle, and usually I listen to audiobooks while I do puzzles or when I'm walking or anything like that. So, audiobooks. I finished Ghost Forest by Pik-Shuen Fung on Tuesday. It was so good. I'll talk about it more in my wrap up at the end of the month, but oh my god, yeah, I freaking loved it. I don't know if I've talked about this book already, but it's super short. It's about astronaut families, specifically Chinese, in this case Chinese Canadian astronaut families. And what astronaut families are is one part of the family, so usually like the mom and the children live in one part of the world, so in this case they live in Canada, and the other parent, sometimes, most of the time in my experience, it's the father, the dad, but could be the mom as well. In this case, in this book, the dad works in Hong Kong, and so he comes back to Canada a couple times a year. So that's what it's called. They're called astronaut families. And I guess I didn't know that that name was a thing because my family is also an astronaut family. My dad also works abroad. I think reading that description in the synopsis made this book stand out to me a lot, because I was like, oh, first of all, didn't know that term was a thing to describe these types of family structures, and second of all, sounds like I could really relate to the contents of the book, and oh my god, yes, I can relate. This book freaking hurt my heart. It was so good. And the writing is beautiful. The writing is so quiet, and in one part of the book, the protagonist talks about Chinese calligraphy art, I think, and about how artists use blank space to really amplify the painting overall. And I feel like it's also mentioned in a couple of reviews that I saw for the book, but I also do agree that the author was kind of doing that, but in written form. So she kept her language pretty short, pretty simple for the most part, but that doesn't mean that the things that she was talking about felt insignificant or diminished in any way. If anything, it amplified the really intense motions a lot more because the language was so simple. And I thought that was really cool how she did that, and really beautiful how it turned out. I also started and finished The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman right after I finished Ghost Forest, and I wrapped up The Graveyard Book as an audiobook last night, actually, yesterday, Friday. I mean, it was amazing. It was so good. It felt like very episodic, so it felt like I was watching episodes of a show, and because I listened to the audiobook, I feel like it was a movie playing in my brain, or a TV show playing in my brain, because the chapters felt so distinct from each other. You know, it just, I don't know how else to explain it. It just feels very episodic. Like you have the same cast of characters, and you have the events from each episode per se, or each chapter do carry over, but it just feels like it's so segmented, and not in a bad way at all. I loved it. By the way, the Graveyard Book, if you didn't know, is about a boy called Nobody Owens, and in the very beginning of the book, his entire family, so his mother, father, and I think he has a sister, they're murdered by someone called Jack. Nobody Owens was a baby, and he somehow escapes to a nearby graveyard, and the ghosts kind of agree collectively to raise him in the graveyard and to protect him from this killer. It's a YA, if not middle grade book. I think it's actually middle grade, but wow, it was so good and so immersive. And the ending was so good. I have no other words to describe it. It was so perfect. A perfect ending. And it leaves you with just like a little bit of like longing and yearning. And for me, that was because I didn't want the story to end. I was having such a good time, and the book ends when, I guess, they call him Bod, when Bod's childhood kind of signals to an end or comes to a close, and I just felt so nostalgic and sad because, yeah, the ending of the book wasn't just like, oh no, the story's over. It's like, man, his childhood, you know, the days of his innocence and all these, like, this time for magical adventures, like, that's all done. You know, we're closing that chapter of his life, and I don't know, I just felt so bittersweet, but it was so good. As for Great Circle, I don't have it near me, I don't have it in this room right now. I haven't made any progress on that because I've mostly been listening to audiobooks. I just haven't found the time nor the mood to sit down with a physical book, so that's still at like 20%, but I'm really looking forward to getting back into it. Okay, see you tomorrow. Hey, so I thought we could end off this weekly vlog right now just because it's Monday afternoon. I just got off work, and I think if anything I'll just start another vlog because I'm in the middle of a bunch of books again. But okay, just to quickly wrap up or summarize what I've read the past 7 days. I read The Love Hypothesis, I read Ghost Forest, and I read The Graveyard Book. All 3 of them were audiobooks, and I sped through all of them fairly quickly. They're all really good, so I have no complaints there. The Love Hypothesis I gave 4.5 out of 5 because the beginning, a little cringy. We talked about that. I don't need to get into it again. Ghost Forest I gave a 5 out of 5 stars because it was so good. Again, if you haven't heard of it, or if you have heard of it and maybe are debating whether or not you should pick it up, go pick it up. It's really good. And The Graveyard Book I also gave 5 out of 5. So really good week of reading, and I would recommend all 3 of these books depending on what mood you're in. You know, if you want a romance, Love Hypothesis. If you want something more emotional, family-centered, Ghost Forest. And then if you want something fantasy and an easier read because it's a middle grade novel, The Graveyard Book. Alright, that's all I've got, so I'll see you guys next time. Bye!